Hi folks, HR Funk here. Out on the range for part 2 of my review of the Valter P99 AS Final Edition. In part 1 of this video, back in the shop, I did a detailed review going back into the history of this handgun, talking about its features and functions, and talking about why it never really was all that popular here in the United States. And if you missed that video, I would encourage you to go back and watch it, because today I'm just going to be shooting it. In just a couple of minutes here, I'm going to kick things off with an accuracy test from the bench at a distance of 15 yards, and I have 3 different types of ammunition I'm going to be testing today. So we'll see just what kind of accuracy I can eke out of this handgun. Then we'll move on to some more defensive drills. So here we go. All right, folks, first up from this distance of 15 yards is going to be 124 grain full metal jacket ammunition from House of Payne Munitions. Remember, if you go to House of Payne, you can use my discount code there, which is HRFunk10, and that'll save you 10% off your purchase from House of Payne. I'm going to start out with this, then I have a 115 grain jacketed hollow point, also from House of Payne, and then I've got a 147 grain Nosler load. By the way, I want to thank House of Payne for supplying this ammunition for today's test. So let's see how it does. By the way, folks, since this is an accuracy test, I am going to be firing all these shots in single action mode. Okay, let's go take a look at the target. All right, first 5 shots, doesn't look bad. Now, one thing I have to point out is the sights on the P99 are not intended for maximum accuracy from the bents. When I look through the sights, that front sight is taking up most of this area inside the target. So I'm just trying to center it as best I can. I'm holding the top of the front sight right about here. And even so, those 5 shots went into about 2 inches center to center. So not bad at all from that distance of 15 yards with the 124 grain full metal jackets. Again, those sights are intended for very quick combat accuracy, not match accuracy. And even so, we got a nice 2-inch group from that distance of 15 yards. Now let's go back and try some hollow points and see how they do. And next up, also from House of Payne, are 115 grain jacketed hollow points. These appear to be Hornady XTPs, which are bullets that have served me very, very well as hunting bullets over the years. So let's see how they do in an accuracy test out of the P99. That's 5 more. Let's take a walk down range and see how they did. A little bigger group that time, and this shot was almost undoubtedly me. Again, that front sight is taking up so much of this target, it's really difficult to try to maintain the exact same hold every time. The 4 good shots are, again, these are under 2 inches this time, about 1.75 inches center to center. If we add that flyer in, that's going to open it up to about 3 1/4. Still, from a distance of 15 yards for the intended roll of the P99. And again, that short sight radius on that 4-inch barrel is not bad at all. That's nothing to sneeze at, and it's certainly going to be accurate enough for defensive use. So now let's move on and try something else. And last up are some Nosler 147 grain jacketed hollow points. And this is going to be the heavyweight of the group. We'll see how they do. By the way, if you notice, my hat keeps disappearing when I come back here and do this intro before I shoot the next accuracy test. It's because I'm literally putting it over my target camera to help keep it from overheating. I know that's silly, but it's hot out here and desperate times call for desperate measures. So that's what I've been doing. Let's see how this ammunition does. All right, last 5 down range, and by the way, functioning has been flawless with all 3 of these different types of ammunition, which is exactly what I expected out of this handgun. Let's see what the accuracy looked like with the Noslers. And once again, I've got 4 shots that are in a nice group and a flyer that got away from me. The 4 shots center to center are actually this time under 1 3/4 inches, about 1 5/8 inches it looks like. And that last shot opens it up to about 3 1/8. So I'm not going to take time to average that. It looks like if we average the size of the entire groups, I'm shooting about 2 3/4, 3 inches from that distance of 15 yards with 3 different types of ammunition, which, as I said before, is certainly accurate enough, and somebody with younger eyes working on those sights might be able to eke some better accuracy out of it than I have. But now we're going to move on to some defensive drills and see how the pistol does in those. Well, unfortunately, the hat trick didn't work. My target camera still overheated. At least I got through the entire accuracy test first. So now I'm going to spend 10 or 15 minutes here in the shade waiting for everything to cool off. Then we'll move on to those defensive drills. So while I'm waiting for my camera to decide it's ready to cooperate, I thought I would tell you what I'm going to be doing in these first couple of defensive drills. That way, when I start to actually shoot, I can just shoot and not have to take time talking and having my camera sit out there in the hot sun longer. So I'm going to start out at a distance of 5 yards, and from that distance, I'm going to be shooting controlled pairs. I'm going to shoot 3 controlled pairs, and since I have 3 distinct trigger modes for the SW99, I'm going to shoot 1 of the controlled pairs with each of those trigger modes. So I'm going to start out the first time, and I'll fire the first shot double action, the slide will cycle, and I'll fire the second shot single action. The second controlled pair, I'm going to start in anti-stress mode with the trigger in the forward position but the action cocked. So I'll come up and fire the first shot anti-stress, slide will cycle, and second shot single action. The third time through, I'm going to set the trigger and I'm going to fire both those shots in the single action mode. Then when I get to the next drill, which is going to be failure drills, I'm again going to start the first trio of failure drills, double action, second trio of failure drills in the anti-stress mode, and the third trio of failure drills I will start in the single action mode. So just to get an idea of how the pistol performs and if it performs any differently with each of those 3 trigger modes. Okay, this is going to be anti-stress mode with the trigger forward. And last is going to be single action mode. All right, no problem keeping those shots well centered. The first 4 shots with those 2 different trigger modes, or at least 2 different modes for the initial shot, are within about 1 inch from that distance of 5 yards, well within the heart. I've got a good lung shot, actually 2 good lung shots on those last 2 single action shots. And interesting that the single action shots went a little wider, and I've seen that before. I think sometimes with a little bit longer trigger press, it makes you focus on the front sights a little bit more, and sometimes with the single action shots, they kind of wander a little bit. Even so, I don't think our bad guy is really going to notice much difference in any of those shots. I think his evil days are done. So now let's move on to 7 yards and those failure drills. All right, first shot DA to kick these off. Second shot's going to be starting in the, or second 3 shots are going to be starting in the anti-stress mode. And it would help if I actually shot a failure drill. So let's start that over. Now we're going to start the first failure drill in double action mode. Okay, that was more like it. And let me see how much ammo I got left. I have enough for one more failure drill, then I have to reload. So this is going to be the anti-stress failure drill. All right, let me grab a little more ammunition and I'll shoot the single action failure drill. Okay, 3 shots, single action. All right, and once I started shooting the proper drill, and even when I was shooting the improper drill, everything was going very well. Body shots are staying nicely centered in the body. Got 2 of those headshots well into the no reflex zone. One of them I pulled just outside on that last drill. So that was just me getting a little shaky on that, but it was performing extremely well. And that trigger is just as good as I remember it being on my SW99. It makes drills like this easy, folks. And you notice when transitioning between those 3 different types of triggers, there is no problem whatsoever. And next up is going to be a multiple target drill. In this drill, I'm going to start out with 2 targets. And when I begin the drill, I'm going to fire 1 shot at the target on the right, 3 shots to target on the left, and then 2 more shots to target on the right, all in rapid succession. And this is testing the sights and the handling characteristics and recoil characteristics of the SW99 to see how quickly I can fire these shots and keep them accurately on target. By the way, something I forgot to mention before I started the last set of defensive drills, when I began those first controlled pairs, I started out with a completely full magazine of 15 rounds and 1 in the chamber, so I'm testing the functioning of the ammunition all the way through the magazine column. And that drill, or those 2 drills rather, were with the 147 grain Nosler ammo. Again, flawless functioning, which is exactly what I expected. As I start into the multiple target drill, this is going to be with the House of Payne 124 grain full metal jackets. So let's see how this goes. And I don't think I said it before, for this drill, once again, I'm going to be shooting from a distance of 5 yards, and I'm going to be starting in double action mode. I'd say the pistol did pretty well. My target camera died right before I shot that drill. So you're not going to get to see the actual impacts of the bullets, but I've got them here. For the first shot, it was pretty much right dead center in the heart of this target. Then I fired 3 shots over here, and I really don't know what order they went in because I can't play the video back, but I've got another one dead center in the heart, 1 of them in the spine, 1 of them in the lung. I came back over here and fired 2 good lung shots on this target. So again, that is very, very good performance from the P99, and it is exactly what I expected from it. And now it's back to a distance of 15 yards from the target, and from that distance I'm going to be firing 5 shots into the body of the target, and I'll start this again in double action mode. So I'll be making that double action, single action transition, and we'll see how the pistol does from here. But first I have to go down and make sure my target camera is cooperating this time around. Well, it was working when I walked away from it, so keep your fingers crossed. Okay, let's see if it captured that. And not bad at all from that distance of 15 yards. I'm pulling him slightly off to the left, off to my left, but I've got 5 shots in that right lung that are in, I don't know, I could measure it, probably 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 inches center to center, something like that. So I'm not feeling bad about that at all. Again, I was making that trigger transition and it didn't present any problems. So now let's move back to 25 yards. I'll try this same drill again from that distance. This time around, I think I'll start in anti-stress mode. So the trigger will be forward, but the action will be pre-cocked. All right, folks, 5 shots from 25 yards, starting in anti-stress mode. These are going to be 5 shots to the body. Let's see how it goes. And there's 5. And assuming my camera survived through all 5 shots, you already know where they hit. I'm gonna have to walk down range to find out. All right, from 25 yards, that's looking very, very good. And I gotta tell you, I think the heat might be starting to get to me a little bit because I was starting to feel a little shaky back there. So I was taking my time with those shots, and that's looking very good from 25 yards. In fact, I think that's a good enough group that it deserves a measurement. I'm gonna grab my tape measure and we'll see just exactly how big that is. And that 5-shot group, center to center from 25 yards, is 3 1/8 inch. So not bad at all from that distance. I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm feeling so good that now it's time to see if the P99 AS Final Edition is a 7-yard tack driver, almost a 20-yard tack driver. That would be pretty good indeed. And since I've got those 3 different trigger modes, what I'm going to do, since I always have 3 shots that I fire at the tack, I'm going to fire the first shot in double action mode, and if that drives the tack, then I'm done. If not, the second shot I'll fire in anti-stress mode. Again, if that drives the tack, then it's a tack driver. And the last shot I'll fire in single action mode if I make it that far. I'm feeling good about this, folks. I've got a good feeling about the tack shot today and the P99 AS, so let's see how it does. All right, folks, here we go with this first double action shot. Oh, well, I'd say I scared it with that double action shot. So the second shot is going to be in anti-stress trigger mode. So the action is cocked, the trigger is forward. Let's see how this one goes. Oh, come on. All right, I got one more shot to see if it's a tack driver. This is going to be the single action shot, and we'll find out. Yes! On the third and final single action shot, the Valter P99 AS Final Edition is a 20-foot or 7-yard tack driver. And I know 7 yards is 21 feet. Still, it's a tack driver. And I was so worried the target camera was going to die and you weren't going to be able to see that third shot, but it is definitely in there. All 3 of those shots, I should measure that. It's probably, those 2 are 1/4 inch center to center. I held over just a little bit more to the left for that third shot because these 2 hit, actually I held off farther to the right rather on this third shot because these 2 hit slightly to the left. So had I kept the exact same point of aim, this would have probably been 3 shots in 1/4 inch from that distance. So again, I cannot complain about the accuracy of the P99 at all. It is exactly what I expected it to be. The trigger is what I expected it to be. The reliability is what I expected it to be. The ergonomics are what I expected it to be. Folks, this is a great, great handgun. Let's go back in the shade for some final thoughts before this camera dies. So final thoughts on the P99 AS Final Edition. Folks, this handgun is everything I expected it to be. As I said in the initial shop review of this handgun, when the P99 was introduced, it was vastly ahead of its time. It still is ahead of a lot of handguns on the market in terms of its features and the capabilities that it allows the shooter to take advantage of. And I said also in the shop review that the P99 really didn't have anything like it when it was introduced and doesn't even still to this day. And I would say that's true, except I probably should have said doesn't have anything that's like it to this day except for the clones, like the SW99, like the Canic pistols. A lot of you who are such fans of the Canic pistols, this is what they're based on. Somebody's over there shooting and having a pretty good time. But I cannot say enough good things about this handgun. And if you've been watching some of my videos lately, you know that I've had some that have been billed as being really, really advanced handguns that have left me kind of lukewarm. This is an old handgun that doesn't leave me lukewarm. It is, as I said, everything I expected it to be. If you want one of these Final Edition P99s, don't wait too long. I said this in the initial video too. I think what Valter did is waited until they completed the production run and then shipped everything all at one time So I don't think the manufacture of these handguns is ongoing anymore, but there are some of the limited edition, or excuse me, the final editions out there. If you're looking for one, get it while it's available, because once they're gone, the prices are going to go up, and I think the prices are even going to start to go up on the P99s that were prior to the final edition. So that's going to do it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, if you purchase anything from Optics Planet, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 7% off your purchase from Optics Planet. Also remember the discount code from House of Payne Munitions. I mentioned it earlier in the video. If you go to House of Payne, you can use my discount code there, which is HRFUNK10, and that'll save you 10% on your purchase from House of Payne. Last but not least is the Target sponsor for the channel, and I had 2 more of their Targets out here today. Go to Targets online, check out their inventory, and see if they have anything that's going to meet your Target needs. See you next time, folks. Until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.